Welcome to my attempt at trying to solve the Iterator practice problem. So I will reset the timer. So I have 15 minutes, and so here's my text editor. So let me start off with linked implementation of a list. Author cam more public class linked list generic implements list generic, and then we have the private linked node e head, private int size, bunch of stuff. And then we need the class that actually implements the iterator, so it's private class linked list iterator. And it also has a type and iterator tor e. And inside this class we have a private linked node e called next. So that is going to point to the next linked node that we are going to present to, that we're going to iterate over. So there's a bunch of stuff in here, something like a public linked list iterator e. And this is the constructor, so we can create a new iterator. And what that does is it actually just says next equals head. So we can refer to the outer class's member variables because we're inside the class. So we can refer to head. So what we do is we take our next pointer and say that what's the next thing? Well, it's head. So we're going to do that. So, and again, this is, you don't have to do this in the practice quiz, but I just want to show you what the constructor does. Sets next to head. So I just want to show you what that does. So now let's get to the method that I have to implement. Public e next. So we're going to return the next item, not the node, it's the item stored in the, right, we're returning an e. So we want to return the item, not the node. So we can't return next, so we need an e. We'll call it return value, to be very specific, equals next dot data, because that is the item, that the e that is being stored inside of that linked node. Okay, now we want to move our next pointer over one. Next dot next, right? So the next variable in the linked node is the pointer to the next node, and then we want to return value. So we return the e. Javadoc this returns the next item in the list. We have an at return the next item in the list. Now, if there is no next, we should say throw a no such item exception. So if next is equal to null, throw new no such item exception. And I believe, without looking it up, that that's the right exception for the iterator to throw if there is, if we've gotten to the end of the list and you ask for next again, it should throw a no such item exception, or an exception very similar to that. We could change this to if not has next, because there is, the iterator class has a has next method that returns Boolean that is true if there is a next item. So we could do that. So let's, if not has next. Either of those are sufficient, because has next should return true if there is a next. If it's true, this will not be true. We don't throw the exception, we return the value. If has next returns false, then we throw the exception. And that took me about 5 minutes. Got my Java doc. And there you go. So the iterator will start at the head and move next, 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 returning all the items in the list until we get to the end. And then if you call next, it will say no such item exception. I'll throw it an exception or if you call has next, that will return false. Thank you very much for your attention.